when we talk about buying a home in Baltimore for $1, is it really $1? Is that all it costs, or is there some other finances and financial factors involved in it?
Absolutely. So the acquisition of the property or the purchase price in a sense is going to be $1, right? But there's going to be some sweat equity that's going to have to go into it. You're going to have to renovate this home. And so you're going to have to secure an additional amount for renovations. You're going to have to secure an additional amount for your appliances. But this is a unique opportunity for you to come in on a ground level and really set a foundation for yourself and participate in this home ownership market in a really affordable way.
And so, Howard, from your vantage point, and you and your team are really at the helm of, creating the program and administering the program. Let's get deeper into two questions here. What is the purpose of the Dollar Home program, of this buy-in to Baltimore fixed pricing program? And then going back to the question about the additional fees, what are some of the additional fees after that dollar is spent?
Yeah, the purpose of the fixed pricing program, more specifically the Dollar Home program, is to eliminate vacant buildings in the city of Baltimore. Obviously, we have a preponderance of vacant buildings. There are about 13,800 of them. However, the city of Baltimore only owns about 850 of them. So a majority of the vacant buildings are owned by private owners, but the ones that are in the city's inventory, Baltimore City's inventory, we're looking, to sell to those homeowners who are looking to live in their own property, so to speak. Again, as Sonia stated, the acquisition cost is $1. That's what you would pay at closing. However, these properties are vacant, no utilities. They're total gut rehabs, which means you would have to put on your rose-colored glasses, so to speak, and envision the home that you've always wanted. So again, large bedroom suite, theater rooms, marble in the kitchen, things of that nature. You can do that by rehabilitating a vacant building to your own personal specifications. And again, yes, it's costly on the front end. We require $90,000 to start, and that could be in a asset account, bank account, retirement account, or in a lender approval letter. So again, it may seem daunting in the beginning, but if you stay vigilant and patient, at the end, more than likely, you'll have a finished property with equity already built in and also built to your specifications.
So that's a big plus. When we look at buying a home, we look at the expense of it. This is an opportunity, as you said, Howard, as you said, Sonia, to help to bring back Baltimore, help to eliminate these vacant homes, bring them back to beautiful, if you will, revitalize communities. But for the buyer, it really is an affordable way to get into a city and see some appreciation. So let's talk about, before we get into the process and the application, and we have a lot of questions coming in so far. Let's talk about just the long-term benefit. And you've already stated somehow we're at the long-term benefit of accessing not only programs like this Buy Into Baltimore fixed pricing program, but also considering buying in Baltimore just in general. Yes. What are some of the long-term opportunities there?
Well, again, opportunities besides creating a property to your own liking. Again, you're eliminating blight. You're establishing generational wealth for you and or your family. You're becoming, the growing tax base in Baltimore, and you're improving neighborhoods throughout the city. So again, we all know Baltimore has had a decreasing population. The city is trying to increase the population. And we feel that this Dollar Home program, through our fixed pricing program, will be a great vehicle to start.
And Sonia, talk to us a little bit about going back into those benefits. Talk to us a little bit about the equity side of it. So what do we mean a tremendous increase in home equity once the property is bought and rehab? What does that look like? And Emmanuel, please feel free to add in, but please.
Absolutely. So when you purchase a home, the value, right, when it gets an appraisal and and professional comes back with saying your home is worth 250 or 350,000, the difference between that and any loan you may have on this property is your equity. That is your opportunity to improve and do whatever you would want to do with the home or even your family. So when you are acquiring the home for $1, and like Mr. Howard mentioned, they're only asking for at least 90,000 in savings, assets, or even a lender pre-approval to support the renovation. Now we're talking about what, $90,001 on a home that after you have renovated it may be worth $150,000 or $200,000. So, that alone, yes, you have to put the rose-colored glasses on because it may not be pretty in the beginning, right? But if we're thinking about the long-term benefits, how we're setting our families up for success, how we are really contributing to the economic growth of a community, this is a great way for you to not only establish the foundation of the home, a foundation for your family, but you are really setting yourself up for financial freedom in a sense that you're able to use this equity to leverage for different future goals, whether it's acquiring a separate property, whether it's paying for your small business aspirations, whether it's funding your kids' schooling. This is your opportunity to really be able to use your own sweat equity to help really give yourself a foundation in life.
Excellent.
And everything is new.
Yes. And we're going to talk, Emmanuel in a moment is going to talk about rehabbing and the joy, because the good thing is things like HGTV have put a new zest on wanting to build things from scratch and have everything new. But what we fail to realize is that we watch these shows and the home goes from nothing to something to a mansion in 30 minutes. That's not reality. So Emmanuel's going to talk to us a bit about the reality of rehab in just a moment. Let's dig in, Howard, a little bit more about the program itself. We have a lot of, if I read the stats right, only about 11 people were approved for the first round of the program. So why are so many people denied, and what are some of the base requirements? We've heard about the dollar, the 90,000. So what should we know?
Yeah, the challenge could be, and again, I'm reviewing applications in my territory, in my district, so to speak, is the financial requirement. Again, you have to show the 90,000 by the bank statement, asset account, retirement account, or lender approval letter. A lot of applicants did not meet that threshold. And again, when speaking to them, they, sort of did not know about the 90,000 because, of course, on social media, it just said $1 house, go submit an application. And that's what the early applicants did. After that first wave, the second wave we had more applicants meeting the minimum threshold of 90,000. So social media helped us get the word out, but social media didn't get the truth out, so to speak, in many cases. So again, they ran with it with $1 with no requirements. And then once we started sort of getting the truth out, the accurate information out, then we started to get more applicants that were meeting the threshold.
And so talk to us about that. What is the 90,000 for? That's coming back up a good bit. So what is the 90,000 for exactly? And we're going to also talk about how to help people get to that 90,000.
Sure. The $90,000 is for the rehabilitation costs. These are total gut rehabs. They're in bad condition. And the city wants to see, excuse me, that you have at least 90,000 to start. Now, depending on what you want in your future property, granite, Brazilian wooden floors, those type of things, depending on what you want in the property, it's going to depend how much it costs. So if you want a 2-story row house with about 1,800 square feet, it may cost you $90,000 to $95,000, $100,000 to complete. But if you're trying to get a 3-story brownstone, 3,200 square feet, it's going to be more. So again, it's going to depend on, again, what you're looking for. We do have an abundance of 2-story and 3-story buildings on our website. And again, you have to do, your due diligence and with the rose-colored glasses and seeing whether or not the size of the building is appropriate for you and the family, so to speak.
So we have to really get started in the dollar program, and for everyone on the line, welcome. Please continue to drop your questions in the chat. I see them, and I will circle back to them in just a moment. But basically, just to get your foot in the door to be considered for the dollar program, the fixed pricing program, I should say. One is you have to have the dollar. That's the easy part. But
Yes.
the 90,000 really has to be in your account, proof of funds, if you will, to cover just the base work of the rehab.
That is correct.
Okay. And before we get to the financing of it and how one, comes up with that 90,000 plus, Emmanuel, from your experience with rehabbing homes and bringing them back to market in Baltimore, how many homes have you rehabbed so far through the work we do at Home Free?
Over 200.
Okay, so you know what you're talking about here. All right,
Okay.
so with that in mind, give us some reality checks. We're going to come back in more detail to talk about the rehab, but give us some reality checks about rehabbing a property that someone wants to live in. Is it true that, in Baltimore, the face remains, but everything else behind the face of the home goes? So just give us some reality checks related to rehabbing a property and what to expect.
Thank you. My name is Emmanuel, and I'm the project manager and the designer for HomeFree-USA. This is an honor to be part of this whole process, and I just want to start by letting you guys know this. When you are interested in something like this, it's very, very important for you to do your homework. And what I mean by your homework is you just need to do your research and make sure you have the zip codes and the neighborhood where you're interested in. Do some research about the neighborhood, when you decide to say, okay, I'm going to be staying in this neighborhood, and you choose to get a property in those blocks or in those neighborhood, you want to make sure that you obtain all the proper permit process. It's a lot of process, and most of these properties are like really, really in bad shape. When they're in bad shape, most of them, not all of them, but most of them are in bad shape. What that means is it requires a lot of process. It requires a lot of permitting. It requires a lot of repairs. It requires a lot of investing in quality materials and work with the local real estate agents. So when you see, like Milan was talking about when you watch development and real estate and flipping houses on TV, it's so easy for you to just see it from nothing to all of a sudden it's not a mansion. But there's a lot of work that goes into it. So in Baltimore City, there's a lot of challenges and there's a lot of blessings. A lot of blessings that comes with buying properties and investing in Baltimore City. Like what we said earlier, the equity that you can build into this neighborhood. It's very affordable to acquire these properties. And Baltimore City have also made it so easy for people who have interest to be in the city to acquire some of these properties, making sure that the acquisition price is not high, like they said, just $1, even though we know it's more than $1. But at least getting your foot into the game and try to buy some of these properties is kind of a little bit easier compared to other places or zip codes or communities around Maryland. And for property development, I think one of the biggest challenges that people have is finding the right contractor. You may find the right property, you might have the best concept in mind, in your dream home, what you would like to look, what you want it to look like, and all of that. But if you don't have some of the best thing behind you to actually make this dream to come to reality, it can become a nightmare. So some of the things that I always try to tell people, because I have a list of do's and don'ts when it comes to flipping houses or when it comes to rehabbing properties. Some of the do's that I always try to advise my people is just to let them know, like I said earlier, first thing is make sure you research the neighborhood that you want to live in, and making sure, like, okay, this is the community that I love. This is, and you have your reasons for that. Maybe it could be value of properties around there. It could be schools. All these things is based on everybody and individual interest. Some people are interested in the school grades. Some people are interested in the equity that is in the neighborhood and all of that, or security and so many other things. Secondly, I will also want you to make sure you have it at the back of your mind that this whole process is not something you can just get a contractor and they will do the whole entire thing for you without pulling any permits or without doing any other thing. Pulling permits is very, very important. You have to make sure you can obtain all the proper permits. And you have to focus on the essential repairs first. Also, you want to consider the historic tax credit that comes with some of this property. If rehabbing an historic property, explore available tax credits for preservation works, right? And some of the don'ts that I also try to tell people who are interested in this kind of flipping or also interested in acquiring these properties, make sure you do not over improve, right? You can put, when people have dream homes and ideas in their mind, they tend to put so much into the things that doesn't really add value to the property. Make sure you do not over improve. Don't ignore the neighborhood character. It is very, very important. Don't skip inspections. You're going to get in trouble. Don't hire unlicensed contractor. This can lead to subpar work, legal issues, problems with the permitting process. Also, do not forget about contingency. A lot of people start these projects, they get to a point, they exhaust all their resources, they cannot finish them. So if you have all these things in mind and you have the best thing behind you, the real estate agent, the best contractor, I can also share with you maybe down the road the things that you may want to consider or the things you want to make sure you look into when you're choosing the best contractor for your projects. Thank you, Milan.
Excellent, excellent. So for everyone on the line, we're going to get to your questions. We have Howard from DHCD, Department of Community and Housing Development. We have Sonia, our home ownership advisor and program manager from HomeFree-USA. We have Emmanuel, our project manager, project designer, head of our rehab at HomeFree-USA as well. And so just to give a quick update, our panelists are giving you the ins and outs and the realness and the truth about buying a dollar home in Baltimore, which we're now figuring out it's more than $1 because you have to have at least $91,000 for the home and $90,000 proof of funds to even get through the application process. And Emmanuel, he gave us insight about the many other things that have to be considered when it comes to rehabbing a home. Because again, I think a lot of times I know me, I'll just say me, get really excited about that upfront cost, but then we don't know about all of the background costs that go into that. And so we want you all to have the truth, so you know the truth, so you can move forward accordingly. And so let's just talk more about this money, because all that you said, Emmanuel, and I've seen your projects, it doesn't seem like, even though one has to have $90,000 as proof of funds, is it safe to say, Emmanuel, they're probably going to need more, or they may need more than $90,000 just to rehab the property?
Most likely they will.
Yes.
And that is the reason why sometimes, apart from all the 90,000 and all the numbers that we're talking about, you still want to make sure you have, like I said, the contingency, or you could have some financing in place to actually finish the project. We can still go into that.
Excellent, excellent. So let's talk about how to get this money, because that really seems to be the biggest. Now that we have taken all of the dreaminess out of this program, and let me just say, shout out to Baltimore City, because this is great marketing, the fact that you have been able to pique so many people's interest. So let's talk about uh, g- getting the money so that we could get through these projects and rehab a home, bring it to light and move in. And so talk to us, Sonia, about qualifying for a loan to show proof of that $90,000 fund. Talk to us about that loan, rehab loan process.
Absolutely. So the first thing that you guys have to keep in mind is that this is not just a traditional purchase, right? So you can't just go in and say, I'm going to buy this home for $1, and the lenders are thinking, well, first for $1, they know it's going to be some issues with the home. But when they do their review based on the loan type, they need some requirements need to be met in order for you to move in. So you're looking for a loan that will satisfy the purpose of renovation before you even move in. And that has a particular underwriting requirement. So your credit has to be at a particular level. Your income, when they look at the pre-approval amount, they are basing everything based on, they're going to use a DTI, a debt to income calculation, to determine your max amount. You coming in purchasing a home for $1, you would want to have the most available to you within reason. So that way you could design the home to your specifications, to your basic needs, or, you know, extravagant needs, wherever your pockets take you. But then also you're still able to still participate within the program. So the lenders are going to look at the 4 C's. They're taking a look at your credit. So, and we have lenders who partner with us, HomeFree-USA. That's one of the things that we love to take out the process for you, trying to search around to find out, well, what lender can I use to find to satisfy such a requirement? We have lenders who will work with you with a credit score as low as 620. Your credit score can be as low as 620. Do you have the capacity to purchase the home? Right. So that's when they're looking at your income. Okay. They're doing that debt to income calculation determined based on your credit items and your income that you receive. Well, based on that, how much of a home or how much of a loan can we approve you for? And that's where they do that max amount. Okay. And then one thing to keep in mind with that max amount, even if your max amount based on your DTI and the borrower, whether it's a single individual or a couple, if you can purchase up to $300,000, you will not get $300,000 to fix up a home if they don't think it will appraise for that amount. So let's just keep that into perspective too. So it will be the max pre-approval based on your income, a combination of your income and the home. Okay. Capital. Again, I keep using sweat equity. How much do you have to contribute to the loan? We have some lenders that offer 100% financing. So you don't have to come up with the down payment requirement, but you're going to have to come up with some of the closing costs, and they're still offering you purchase incentives. So you can still participate in the many down payment programs that I know you guys have heard in the city. And it could be combined not only with the lender, but with this wonderful fixed pricing buy into Baltimore, Be More program. Okay. And the collateral, that's the structure. That is the home. Okay. They're going to appraise the home a few times, right in the beginning and then right at the end. But that process is all based on the lender. So it's a lot that goes into the pre-work of this application process. And we can help you guys to go through and select the lender or help you to find that lender that meets your family needs.
Correct.
Exactly. And as Sonia mentioned, once you get pre-approved by a lender, a rehab lender, then the incentives can be stacked. Of course, Baltimore City has a vacancy to value booster grant. That's $10,000. There's other incentives that can be stacked to help with down payment and closing costs. We've had some buyers stack $40,000 in incentives to go, for down payment and closing costs. So again, once you get the home buyer counseling from Home Free, that'll open more gates financially for you.
This is wonderful. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm sitting here. Well, the first question is for my own selfish interest. Is this restricted to first-time buyers?
No, it's not.
Wow. Okay,
If you owned a home before, sold it, what have you, and you're looking for another house to live in, primary residence, yes, you can.
and what if you currently own a home? No?
Probably not. Again, it would a lot of paperwork. You would have to sell and that sort of thing. Um, that would again depend on the time frame of disposing of the property. Because again, we're on an honor system here that you are going to dispose of it and live in it for 5 years. So again, we don't want the impression that you're, acquiring properties not to live in. So
Gotcha. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Mhm.
That makes sense. Well, let me just say, but as we get to our questions here, this is a lot of great information. I mean, the fact that again, you can buy a home in Baltimore, as Emmanuel said, in a desirable community that fits your unique, wants and needs, and you don't have to pay a lot for the actual structure. You could come in, you're getting the structure for $1. You have to show proof of funds, because as we know, rehab is not for free. That is a whole lineup of financing and attention. But Baltimore City has done a great job of making the ability to get into the city and buy at an affordable rate far easier. So that's wonderful. So Howard,
one thing I can add real quick that I forgot to add. You can also acquire a vacant lot for $1 and do new construction or modular. So that is another option. If a building is not what you prefer, you can find a vacant lot and again, do modular or new construction for $1.
excellent.
For $1.
And excellent, excellent. So as I go to the questions here, is this program for Baltimore City or does it include the county as well? Baltimore County,
Baltimore City,
Baltimore
city
City.
only. Yes.
Excellent. And we already answered the question. Do you have to be a first-time home buyer? It's not required, but it's ideal. Is that correct?
Correct.
And either
That
way,
is
you have to
correct.
live in the house for 5
Yes.
years.
Yes, that is correct.
Excellent. What zip code is this program restricted to?
It is not zip code restricted only because the properties that we have on our website, vacant buildings and vacant lots, 90% of them qualify. They're in different areas of Baltimore: East Baltimore, West Baltimore, Southwest Baltimore, as well as Park Heights. So 90% of them, well, let me say everything on our fixed pricing section qualify for the $1 properties.
Gotcha. So again, the city owned
Yes.
of vacant properties throughout the city of Baltimore. Folks can choose from, or they have options based on that list of properties that you provide. Excellent. And what are some do's and don'ts or mistakes to avoid when selecting contractors for such a large project to rehab a home?
I mean, the first thing is going to be don't make your choices just based on trust, right? Like, okay, you see this person, they said they've done this before, and you said, okay, let me try. You can't try this. You have so much vested interest in this and your resources for you to just trust somebody. So I would just say this. Let me lay out some of the things that you can do, or the process that you can actually use to get a good contractor. The first step is you may want to get a good referral, maybe from family or friends or someone who's been doing this as a business or who has done this in their home property, or maybe they've done some rehab work in the past. And make sure you check references when they give you a referral, and make sure you check the references. Start by asking recommendation and check the contractor's previous work. Sometimes pictures or photos can just be so deceiving. It's actually good if that contractor has a project that they're doing or that they just recently completed. You can go visit and see what they've done. The quality of work in pictures is different from reality. Everybody have different angles that they put their camera to give you the best shot. And the second thing is also you want to make sure they have license. These are registered MHIC contractors. Verify their licenses and make sure they have insurance, right? There are so many ways you can verify that. You can look it up online. You can ask for their insurance and stuff like that. Also, make sure you have Go through the bidding process, vet these things, get a detailed bid for contractors to have multiple bids, and ensure each contractors provide a detailed breakdown of the cost of what they're going to be doing on your property. Also, set clear expectations. It's very, very important. Clearly define the scope of work of what you want them to do, the timeline, the payment schedule in the contract, right? When you make sure you have that clear expectation and there's written document for it, that can protect you and also protect the contractor as well. Make sure you also communicate very regularly with your contractor. You show up to the job site, see what they're doing, how far they're going, the quality of the work that they're doing. Just in the process, you don't want to be surprised and they did something. And sometimes you you go to your property maybe a week, maybe today, a week later you go by there, or 2 weeks later you go by there, just because they made a mistake or they didn't do exactly what you asked them to do. It may be very costly for them to even go back or to fix those things. Like I said earlier, it's very, very important for you to make sure you have a written contract for these projects. Always have a formal contract in place to protect both parties, you and the contractor. And lastly, I'm just going to say this. Sometimes, even though these things, the project or whatever, the construction that the contractor give you, the quality, the product that they give you might look amazing to you. They might even look really nice and beautiful. But how sure are you that they did this thing right? Some of the ways that you can actually, or one of the ways that you can actually make sure that this thing is done right is making sure they did all their inspection. And most importantly, you may want to hire just a third-party home inspector to come in, inspect the progress of the work that they're doing, and sometimes you even want them to come out when your contractor is asking you for a draw request. You want to make sure this inspector comes out, they do the inspection before you make the payment for the contractor. With all this process, I believe you're going to get a good contractor and you're also going to be able to get a good product.
Excellent, excellent. That is very, very, very insightful, because again, there are three big components of this program, it seems. Component one is you got to do what Sonia was mentioning. You have to get qualified for the financing to pay for the project. And that's where the work with the homeownership advisors come in, you making sure that you are getting with the right lender, that you have all your stuff in line, because just because you have a high credit score doesn't necessarily mean you're shooing to get mortgage approval. As Sonia mentioned before as well, buying a home to rehab it, to do a full gut rehab and bring it back so you can live in it. That's different from buying your traditional home that's already built. You get a home inspector, you walk in and you may say, well, I want the walls to be painted differently, or these locks don't work. Rehabbing a whole home from scratch is, I would just say, it's a grown people's game, if you will. But the great thing is you do have resources with HomeFree-USA. We'll talk to you all about our membership program and opportunity. And the great thing is, with Emmanuel and his background, although we are not trying to be the contractors, but through the membership with Home Free, we can provide help to move you along so that you can really choose and manage your contractors effectively after you get the financing straight. So thank you for that. And Emmanuel, as we're talking a little bit more about this, the construction part of it, talk to us about permitting. That is something nobody thinks about when they are rehabbing a home.
Yes. So permitting, it's the process where you get the proper documentation and approval from the city, where you clearly state in the scope of work of all the things that you're going to be doing on your property, and making sure that the contractor also do all their inspection of the property based off of the scope of work they provide to the city and the work they're doing on the project. But before you can, most of these properties, because of the states and how blight these houses are, you are most likely, let me say 80 to 90% chances that you would need drawings, right? You may want to talk to an architect or someone who can provide the drawings for you, or any organization that does that. You want to make sure you have your drawings in place. You want to make sure after you choose a contractor, make sure they pull the permits. Make sure you ask for the documentation. I mean, the permit itself before. Don't just trust them to say, okay, I already pulled the permits, or I'm going to pull the permits. So the permitting process is you get your drawings, you apply for your permit with the city, where you clearly tell them, or your contractors tell the city all the things they're going to be doing, which is the scope of work. They tell the city what they're going to do is going to go through the process of, it could be, I think Howard is going to be able to give us more details into this, because this is the city stuff. But most importantly, when you apply for your permits, the city will go through the process of looking into your drawings, looking into the scope of work, making sure the things that you said you want to do at your property is allowed. Maybe sometimes some of these properties are in historic neighborhood. If it's not historic, you're probably going to get your permits approved more quickly, as long as you provide all the documentation that you are needed by the city, or that is required from your contractor. After your permit is approved, that's when the contractor can actually start breaking ground, or actually start doing the work that they need to do on your property. So when they start the project, they're most likely going to start with roughing, which includes the framing, the plumbing, the electrical, the HVAC roughing. After the roughing, they're going to call the city for inspection for all of these trade, plumbing, electrical, and HVAC. If they pass those inspections, they can move forward with closing the walls. After they close the walls and wrapping up the whole house, outside and inside, finishing the project, they're still going to have to call the city again to do final inspection. After they do the final inspection for each trade, the plumbing, electrical, and HVAC, they will still have to do their final building inspection. After the final building inspection, they're still going to have to get the use and occupancy certificate, which is the one that certifies that this house is safe to live in. And that's when you can actually get your key from your contractor and moving into your property.
So this is a process, but anything worth having requires a lot of effort. So that was very helpful to break down. And it seems like that's even another reason, another very important reason, Emmanuel, as to why one wants to get and needs to get certified contractors who know the ins and outs, who are familiar with the permitting process, because this is not a time to skirt around, and take shortcuts. You don't want to be in your house and then the ceiling fall in. And I don't mean that to be funny. I mean that for real, because we're talking about structures here. All right. So thank you for that, Emmanuel. And so as we get to more of these questions here, so Howard, how long is the program going to be available? Is there a deadline? If someone wants to apply, what are next steps?
There's no deadline. As long as we have vacant property in Baltimore City, it will be available. So there is no deadline. There's nowhere to sign up. So again, I put the website in the chat, dhcd.baltimorecity.gov, fixed-pricing-program. And again, you can go there and read all about the guidelines and recommendations. And then you have, you'll see on the website the map that has green dots for vacant lots and yellow dots for vacant buildings. And I would suggest that you look at those properties as you zoom out of the dots on a tablet or a desktop, where you can see, eventually you'll see the street and the property once you continue to zoom out. So again, you'll initially see dots, but as you zoom out, you'll see the streets, the neighborhoods, and the property.
Excellent. So they can visit Buying Into Be More portal to complete the application. But first, and correct me if I'm wrong, Howard, they need to get the funds together, because
That is correct.
the big reason why folks are getting denied is that they're applying, but they don't have that 90,000
Correct.
stated. First step, the money. Got to get the money, got to get the financing situated. Sonia, talk to us and just remind us again, what is the best way to start there? So again, for everybody on the line, you can go to the resources that Howard mentioned. Please visit Buying Into Be More portal. You could find the list of the properties. You could drive by the properties. You could dream about the properties. You can envision your family in the properties. But if you do not have the available funds ready and in your account, or I should say approved by a lender, when you apply, all of that will literally just be a dream. So first we have to start with the financing part. So Sonia, talk to us. What is the first step to get the financing in place so we can get to the second step, which is applying for the program?
Absolutely. So your first step should be scheduling appointment with a counseling center, home ownership counseling company like HomeFree-USA. Why? In addition to the pre-work that we will do with your credit and savings, you're able to also get stacked incentive programs. So down payment assistance, closing cost assistance with this purchase as well. And one thing a lot of these programs require is that you have to have the education and the counseling done first before you acquire the home. So don't put the cart before the horse. Schedule your counseling session with HomeFree-USA first. We will review your readiness by looking at your credit. We'll go through your savings. We will help you with your preference list, right? Mr. Howard mentioned you can either purchase a vacant building or a vacant lot and put a modular unit on there. We'll help you with understanding what that entails as well, because this is a great opportunity for you to come in and have your home brand spanking new, and you'll know all of the repairs and the renovations have been done to code, to spec, to your specifications, because you went through this lengthy process. So you're scheduling your session with HomeFree. We're reviewing everything, and we will help you with completing your application requirements as well. That secured financing. Do we all have 90,000 or 100,000 or 150,000? No, I'm not. We're not blessed with that. I know I'm not. I speak for myself.
Not either.
So I would definitely need that letter from a lender to at least start the renovation process. So we'll help you with finding that lender, regardless of where your credit is now, to help you with getting the financing, so that way you could begin this labor of love and going in and acquiring this property and making the renovations to suit your family.
Howard, I do have another question here.
Sure.
What if someone is already a homeowner? We talked a little bit about that. Are there any other programs available through this initiative?
If you're already a homeowner and maybe you want to be a developer, yes, you can go to fixed pricing. We do have the same properties, and again, they're for developers as well. The cost would be $3,000 instead of $1. It's published on our website. So again, if you're already a home buyer and want to acquire additional property, you can do that as well. Again, the website's in the chat. You can go there and review the information there and the inventory.
This is just a really good opportunity to, again, buy in Baltimore, to tap into a home that will build in equity in a city that is really making great turnarounds. I am from Washington, D.C. I was not clued in to all the changes in DC at the time, but we are cluing you in to what's going on in Baltimore, so you can really get ahead of the redevelopment versus being on the backs of it when everything else is super expensive. So this is a great time to get in the game, to really get going, to buy a home at an affordable rate. And you have the resources of Sonia by way of home buyer preparation, helping you to get your finances together so you can get approved for financing. You have Emmanuel, who will help to guide you through the construction process. And of course, you have representatives like Howard from Baltimore City, who are here to really help you to understand the programmatic guidelines and to approve you or deny you if you don't come to the table with all the right things. But the great thing is, with HomeFree-USA, we'll work with you so you will get approved when you reapproach Howard, because you'll have that $91,000 plus to be able to make your home adventures come true.